the college ranks. We'll do our week 2 recap here with our team of the week. And Grant, you just had it. So back to back, who is your college week 2 team of the week?
I could go with the low-hanging fruit here, but I'm going to leave that for Dylan. I'm going to go with a different team that played in the state of Texas, but they're not from Texas.
Oregon.
Not Oregon. I'm going to go with the Utah Utes.
Yes.
Oh.
For sheer fact, guys. This is the game I watched at the early hour on Saturday. Sorry, Dion, I was not part of the 8.7 million people who watched you play Nebraska. I apologize. But it was, I think, 100.
We don't apologize on this podcast.
It was 105 or 106 in Waco, and on the field it was 130 degrees.
Jesus, how did no one die?
Utah is not used to practicing in the heat. They were down to their backup quarterback. They started Bryson Barnes. He was 6 of 19. They brought in Nate Johnson. They stuck it out. They fought till the end. Their defense got 2 turnovers when they needed to, and they scored 2 touchdowns in the last, I'm going to say minute 20 or minute 40 of that game to get a big win in Waco. I understand Baylor lost to Texas State the week before, but just to survive that heat when you're not used to it, there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. They stuck it through. It was a gritty win for the Utes. They're kind of a team like me. They're a team that I root for. How can you not like Kyle Whittingham with Cam Rising still on the bench? Just a gutsy win at the 11 o'clock hour on Saturday. So I'm going to go with Utah, just because overcoming something that they couldn't prepare for on
Even
Saturday.
coming across the time zone to an 11 o'clock.
Exactly, an early game coming across the time zone. You leave Salt Lake City. And against a Baylor team who knew their backs were against the wall, after an embarrassing loss, they came to play. But Utah stuck their game plan. They didn't get down. They lost some players because of cramps, and they gutted it through. And now they're still in the Pac-12 race, and they don't have to have a bad non-conference loss going into Pac-12 play.
Yeah. I did not get to see any of the Utah game, but I was in Bowman coaching at a junior high jamboree, but got back to see all the afternoon games. But my team of the week, yes, and since it's there, I'm not going to turn it down. Here, there were a couple, but because I also had written down Miami and Washington State, because anytime Wisconsin loses, America wins. It has to be the Texas Longhorns to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium and dominate that game, and dominate up front, throw Bama around, do what Alabama has done to everybody for the last Nick Saban's been there for 17 years now.
17 years.
And Quinn Ewers have an early Heisman moment. There was a lot of questions with his consistency. They talked about it on the broadcast, how he really got more focused. He kind of, he came in a little bit cocky. The fact that he went to Ohio State, I said he was going to be Tate Martell 2.0, but he transferred, so I don't have to say bad things about him anymore. He's down about 20 pounds from what he was. He looked efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. He hit a couple of beautiful deep balls. Sarkisian is a master play caller of just getting guys, creating matchup nightmares. And then when the game hung in the balance for 7 minutes to go, Alabama's thinking we get a stop here. We go down and score. We get a 1-possession game. We get another stop. But Sarkisian didn't fret, wasn't scared, called 3 straight run plays on 2 different occasions on third and mediums, and they picked them up both times. And it wasn't an RPO. It wasn't a quarterback run. It was a just give to the running back. And this Texas team, do I dare say Texas is back? I'm not ready to go that far yet. I'm not going to say it yet. But because this would be a total Texas thing, is with Wyoming coming to town where they should win, but it might be ugly, where they play to the level of the competition. Does this give them the confidence they need that we don't need to play down, but we give this effort every time? We're going to win by 60? We'll find out. But up front, and you look at their recruits, where they've recruited heavily since Sark's been there. is they've gone heavy on the offensive line, heavy on the defensive line, heavy in the linebackers, and you're seeing that come to fruition. Where it was a living hell for Jalen Milroe in the back yesterday or on Saturday in the Alabama offense. So Texas is my college team of the week.
I really wanted to pick Kansas, but when you guys give me the opportunity to say better dead than red, there's not a real choice. You're going against Wisconsin. Let's just say say it was. But no, Washington State. I think they're like 4 to 5 point home underdogs versus a team that they had. Was it 5?
5.
Yep. Yeah, I won money on that one.
But versus a team they beat last year on the road, and they beat them. The score was low scoring, but they beat the living hell out of Wisconsin last year, and for the most part, the same thing happened today or Saturday, I should say. Wisconsin needs to figure out what the hell they are because they're not a passing offense. How you can give Braylon Allen 7 carries? Like, are you serious?
It's unacceptable.
The only reason they're ranked is because of Luke Tickle My Nipple Fickle. Like, he's just an absolute
That's a good one.
But seriously, like, they absolutely do not deserve to be ranked. And even Washington State looked hella better than they did first week. So how they were 5-point dogs, I mean, it's all for the money purposes, but that was a stupid line.
And catch this, Ethan, because me and you talked about this Wisconsin team coming of the year and how we both had no faith in them. The same team that's coming back from last year, no quarterback. Your offensive line's not the same. They got whipped. Their offensive line got whipped around by Iowa's defense and Minnesota's defense last year. Their defense lost a lot of starters over these last couple of years, and they're not the big, nasty physical group you were anymore. How could you be confident?
Jim Leonard is not walking through that door.
Jim Leonard is not there. And then also, this offensive coordinator, he was at Carolina when they had Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. You have 2 backs now. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have receivers.
2 better backs.
You have 2 better backs. Run the ball out of this spread system. It's unbelievable how incompetent.
Whether this is by design or just how, like you said, how shitty their offensive line was, Mordecai had more rushes than Braylon Allen did.
That's just unacceptable.
It's insane. It's absolutely nuts.
It's terrible.
Maybe there's something about that Wisconsin air when you get there. It's filled with dairy cow manure. People don't bathe. They use Velveeta as deodorant. Maybe your IQ just drops when you get into that barren cheese wasteland of a state with a bunch of uneducated mouth breathers over there. But it's just unbelievable.
It's incredible
how incompetent they have been these first 2 games.
And who do they have? They have sent Western Michigan. No,
that's Iowa.
They have like a decent. Georgia Southern.
They beat Nebraska. Who beat Nebraska last year?
They absolutely could lose. Yeah, Georgia Southern's 2-0. I don't know who they beat, but that's absolutely a game that they can't take lightly. They beat UAB and the Citadel. So,
Georgia Southern beat Nebraska last year.
They got Scott Frost fired.
They got Scott Frost fired. Stand up, Clay Helton.
Yeah.
And that was predominantly a triple option team, and that to be able to flip that roster around as fast as he did, that's pretty impressive. But
on top of being an FCS about 2 years before that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well, no, they've been in the FBS since we were in college. It's been a little bit, but
okay.
Yeah, they've been in it for quite a while because my freshman year that was the year they beat Florida in the Swamp. That was like kind of their tweener year where they were still considered FCS, but they weren't eligible for the playoffs.
Weird.
Okay.
So they play and then the next year 2014 was their first year in FBS.
Has it really been that long? Holy shit.
Yeah.
My good God.
Holy balls.
Because there was talk, because that was McKinnon's senior year, and there was talk that if they could have met in Frisco, or they could have met in the Fargo Dome again for the semifinals that year, for the 3rd straight year in a row.